Okay. Welcome to Living with Scanxiety. Today I have with me Dr. Nunez and Dr. Wang, and we're going to be talking about some T cell therapy. They have a lot of information in the field, and I'm going to give them the floor to introduce where they're from and who they are.
Hello, hi everybody. My name is Pei Wang, and thank you for your invitation, Rosario, to this platform. I am the Vice President of Clinical Development at Eureka Therapeutics.
And my name's Dr. Nicole Nunez, and I am the manager of patient engagement and regulatory affairs at Eureka Therapeutics. And thank you also, Rosario. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm super excited to have you both here, taking time out of your busy schedules. So why don't we dive right in? And I think Dr. Wang, you're the perfect person to ask for this. So can you tell us about Eureka Therapeutics and what your mission is for the company?
Sure, yeah. Eureka Therapeutics is a clinical stage biopharmaceutical company, and we were actually founded almost 17 years ago, 2006. Mm-hmm. So we're really a group of trailblazers, I would call it, focusing on tackling challenges through continuous innovation. And our mission in Eureka is to find a cure for cancer. And we believe T cell therapy holds a promise.
Okay. Well, in terms of the T cell therapy, what exactly is that? And I don't know if you touched on it, but what type of tumors in particular are you working with?
Great. I'll take this one. I'll start off with saying, we actually work with a lot of, we collaborate, we have internal projects also. So some of the projects that we have done in the past has been for blood type of cancers, but I'd say like our main focus right now is for solid tumors. And so these are tumors that are forming, for example, like lung cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. These are all examples of solid tumors. So that's what we're focusing on. And our hope is we really want to be the first to show that T cell therapy is going to be a successful and FDA approved therapy in these solid tumor type of cancers. So to give a little background first, I want to maybe just walk the audience through what a T cell is. Maybe that might help give them some context of how are we making this therapy? What is it made of? So T cells, they're actually part of our everyday immune system, and their main function is to circulate in our blood, and they look for rogue cells. So they're looking for cells that have been infected with viruses or bacteria. And what we're going to do is actually hone in on that natural ability of T cells by extracting them from the patient's blood. So this is literally the patient's own T cells that we're taking, and we engineer them. Once we take them out of blood, we engineer them to fight their specific type of cancer. And so this is how we can generate what we call T cell therapy.
Oh, wow. Okay. And in terms of the T cells, you said we have them naturally, but what are you doing to them? Are you putting more into our blood? Is that what was happening?
Yeah, so actually what we do is a type of engineering called genetic engineering. So when we take those T cells, we're going to add a little piece of DNA to them. And so this DNA is kind of like a computer code. It's going to tell your T cells to have another function. So besides their general functions, we're going to have this little piece of DNA that's going to tell the T cell, okay, you have an added job now. Your added job is to look for cancer cells. You're going to look for this specific type of cancer. And when you find it, you're going to destroy that type of cancer. And so Eureka has really levitated this process to be specific for just that specific type of cancer. As you know, and the audience knows, so many times when it comes to cancer drugs, these are targeting, they're not specific. For example, chemotherapy oftentimes is not specific. It's going to target all the cells in your body. And so really what we're doing is designing a therapy that's only going to go after your specific type of cancer and then destroy that type of cancer.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it basically smartens your immune system.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Oh, okay. That's really interesting. Wow. And I'm wondering from a parent's point of view, if a let's say tumor has to be removed and they can't shrink it or enough and you have to have surgery, is it important for someone like you that's doing this research to have access to that tumor? Is it really beneficial for people to donate tumors?
Great question.
I'll take that question.
Okay.
So donating tumor and understanding the tumor behavior is definitely important in research. But for our study here, we have already done a lot of preclinical study, meaning the tumor cell lines, the animal model that we use to demonstrate the drug's safety and efficacy. And we actually evaluate the whole kind of safety and efficacy from the preclinical stage, and then we got the allowance from the FDA to conduct the clinical trial in the human now. And then so from the moment that we kind of announced that we're entering to the human study, we kind of already know some information about the safety and efficacy, and now it's the time to really try out this new therapy, T-cell therapy, in the human. Of course, when we design the clinical trial, we take the safety as the highest priority for every patient, right? So when we design the trial, we start from a very conservative dose level, and then we escalate the dose level to the final optimal therapeutic dose level, and where we can then further evaluate the efficacy of the T cells at that dose level. So yes, it's important to understand more. It's always important to understand more through the patient's tumor sample.
Okay. Yeah, I donated my son's tumors, and I was just curious how that would help you in your research. So thank you for sharing that. And have any patients been successful yet in this treatment?
Yeah, so in the broader context for T-cell therapy in general, there's actually I think 4 or 5 FDA approved T-cell therapies, I think 5 now, that have all been FDA approved in certain types of blood cancers. So for example, leukemia and lymphoma, and that these T-cell therapies are not just for the adult population, these are for the pediatric population as well. And really exciting. So and also a fun fact, the first pediatric patient to receive T-cell therapy, Emily Whitehead, she actually just celebrated 10 years cancer-free. So this type of therapy has been shown to be curative in blood cancers. And so we're really taking this type of therapy and now moving it into the next frontier, and that's solid tumors.
That's great. So when you're moving into solid tumors, so my son actually had is immunotherapy the same thing as T-cell therapy? I just want to clear that up before I ask my next question.
It's a broader concept. Yes, it covers the T-cell therapy, but immunotherapy is broader. It includes, for example, the immune modulator like PD-L1, PD-1, that type of drug. But it also includes the immune cell, like the T-cell therapy, NK cell therapy. So those are all included under immunotherapy.
Okay, so my son had immunotherapy. I'm not sure what type it was for a solid tumor. So you are using this successfully in blood cancers, but what makes the treatment for solid tumors how is that coming to light for you? And will you be successful, do you think? And why is it challenging?
Yeah, this is a great question. So, Eureka, we've been working on this, and we're just starting out in our clinical trials right now in solid tumors. Our focus right now is in liver cancer, including pediatric liver cancers, such as hepatoblastoma and hepatocellular carcinoma. And when it comes to essentially transitioning this T cell therapy concept from the blood cancer domain into the solid tumor domain, you have a few challenges you have to overcome. So the first one is when it comes to blood cancers, the targets that you're going to go after, they're oftentimes already expressed on the outside of the cell. So it's a little bit easier to design a therapy to target something if it's already on the outside of the cell. Whereas when it comes to solid tumors, what makes a solid tumor unique, so if you have a normal colon cell and then a cancerous colon cell, you are looking for really tiny differences between those cells, and you have to be able to target just the colon cancer cells and not normal colon cells. So that's one of the first challenges that solid tumors have. And Eureka has overcome this by finding, I'd like to say, a loophole in a sense, where our cells present things on the surface that flag what type of cell it is. And this includes things on the inside that say, I'm a cancer cell. And so Eureka has actually been able to find these minute differences that are presented on just, in this case, liver cancer cells. And so what we're doing is trying to target just those liver cancerous cells and not just the general liver cancer cell itself. I'd like to also say, another issue is that blood cancer, obviously, it's floating throughout your whole blood. And that's where T cells, for the most part, live. They're floating around in your blood. So it's really, it's like, great, when you put the engineered T cell back in your body, it's like, great, I'm home again. I can float around in the blood, and it's really easy to run into blood cancer cells. So it has a little bit easier time. But when it comes to solid tumors, the cells are like these tight masses that are all clumped together. And so the T cell has to be able to push, essentially work its way through the tumor. So it's going to be fighting the outside of the tumor cells and keep working its way in. And so you really have to design a T cell therapy that is not going to tire easily. You want the T cell that's going to go the marathon, not the one that's the sprinter. And so you have to really design a T cell therapy that can make its way all the way into the solid tumor. And the last big hurdle, kind of again going back to that, where the blood cells are just floating around in your body, whereas the T cells are all clumped together. Not only are they clumped, but the cancers put out all of these toxic materials and signals that are suppressing your immune system. So cancer cells are really good at telling your immune system, I'm fine, don't come after me, don't mind me, I'm just growing out of control, but don't bother me. And so what we have to do is make sure that we have T cells that can either ignore those signals or can withstand those signals and keep focused on what their main task is. And so that's Eureka really focused on those three aspects to design a T cell therapy that's able to withstand all of the challenges that come with targeting a solid tumor.
Yeah, wow, that's intense. And it's great that you're doing this for pediatric cancers, and we need this in the community. So thank you for your research at Eureka and coming on and talking. Now, we talked about these T cell therapies that have like interesting letters and numbers that come after them. Can you explain that to me? Because I have no idea how to describe it to the audience.
Yeah. Pei, do you want to take this one?
The letters and numbers regarding the project code, program code?
Yeah.
I think it started with ET1.
No,
oh, right.
It was the same question when I started. So you're not alone, Rosaria. I will say every company does it a little differently, but it's always
right.
be about numbers and letters.
Yeah. So first of all, you don't need to remember that code is a kind of a program code representing what kind of T cell we engineered.
Okay.
For the ease of the audience and for everybody, I think we actually named the clinical trial as ARIA 1, 2, and 3. And there's actually a story behind how we named ARIA trial. And I'm not sure you have watched the Game of Thrones. There's a main character called Arya, and she is the one who told the Death King, not today.
Mm-hmm.
and she is the one who killed the Death King or the Night King. So that's how we kind of like we are here. Eureka is here for 17 years. We have a lot of members serving the company for more than 10 years, including me. I'm with Eureka for 15 years. We're really committed to the mission of Eureka, and we're really trying to bring the innovation, the cutting edge technology to the cancer community, and of course we're together partner with the cancer community, together with the physicians, the advocates, the patient families, and the patients to really fight against cancer. And so that's why we kind of named the trial ARIA.
Mm.
So
like
it's easy for you to remember.
Stick to the
right. And then
our names in TV shows. I like it.
Right. ARIA 1 is actually the first clinical trial we initiated, and this ARIA 1 is actually targeting adult HCC, hepatocellular carcinoma, using targeting actually AFP, intracellular protein called alpha-fetoprotein. And ARIA 2 is using the same T cell targeting intracellular target alpha-fetoprotein, but the patient population is the pediatric liver cancer population. So that's ARIA 2. There's also ARIA 3 is another target in adult HCC. But overall, 3 of them are tackling liver cancer indications.
Okay. Out of curiosity, because my son had rhabdomyosarcoma, are you guys working on that as well?
Not at this stage.
Okay, so it's still in its early stages. This is great news. I'm so excited to share this with everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is
I think
targeted towards pediatric cancers, though.
Right.
Okay.
So this is the liver cancer indication is our kind of the first leading program in the clinical stage, and this is a really, to us is kind of a proof of concept whether our platform works in terms of how we engineer the T cell, how we target the cancer cells. If the platform works, then the sky is the limit.
Yes.
Right. So this is the first goal, and we have a lot to do.
Yes, I am so excited. If you can't tell by my face, I'm super excited about this. And where is all of this taking place? Like, where are you doing the research, and who are you working with? Which oncologists?
Sure. So specifically for ARIA 2, the pediatric liver cancer. So ARIA 2, currently the first activated site is Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Boston Children's Hospital. And our team is actually working very hard on activating the second clinical trial site, which is UCSF Children's Benioff Hospital. And the principal investigator in Dana-Farber is Dr. Alison O'Neill. Dr. O'Neill is the medical director of Pediatric Liver Cancer Center of Excellence at Dana-Farber, and she also serves as the chair of Children's Oncology Group, Liver Tumor Committee. So she has a lot of expertise and experiences in treating different subtypes of pediatric liver cancer. And not only that, she also truly has share of the passion of research to provide a good treatment option for this patient community. And she also cares a lot about the patients and their families. So we think we have a really good kind of partner at Dana-Farber. And although I couldn't disclose the name of the PI at UCSF, but he also has a lot of experiences working in the field and working with the pediatric liver cancer patients. So we're kind of having the two big centers, one in east, one in west, and those big centers has the PI who has the knowledge, the expertise, but those centers can also provide enough support to support this cutting edge technology like T-cell therapy, because it's not a traditional therapy. It's not like orally taken just simply by IV infusions. It requires actually a little bit complicated logistic and handling management to kind of engineer the T cell and then get it back to the patient's body. With these two big centers, we think our patients who will be enrolled in the trial will be in good hands.
Yeah, it's great to hear that they don't have to do numerous rounds of chemotherapy, but at the same time, are there long-term effects or?
That's a very good question.
Of this?
Yeah. So this is our ARIA 2 is now in the phase 1, so-called phase 1. It's the dose escalation phase. In this phase, we will be primarily evaluate the safety profile of the T cells and also evaluate the tolerability of T cells in these patients. And then from there, we can then determine the so-called recommended phase 2 dose, meaning that the dose that we think is optimal in terms of the therapeutic dose. We will then, once we determine that dose level, then we will further evaluate the efficacy of the T cells in those patients. And then so far, so as I just mentioned, we have some other ongoing clinical trials. The one that using the same exact T cells is in adult HCC, and that trial is far advanced than the pediatric liver cancer trial, ARIA 2 trial. And from there, we already kind of know the safety profile of the T cells, and it's actually I would say it's excellent safety profile, meaning that there's not much treatment-related adverse events. There are some specific adverse events related to the T cell. We call it cytokine release syndrome, but it's kind of you want to see the patient has some cytokine release syndrome, so you know that the T cell are working in their body, right? And then, but it's not like really a storm. It's a manageable cytokine release syndrome, and which we are. And so we actually feel very comfortable now with the safety profile of the T cells. But again, pediatric and adult is different.
Yes.
So we want to still evaluate the safety profile conservatively in the pediatric population. Therefore, the initial starting dose is actually about 30 times lower than what we have already reached to the adult trial. So we're starting from a very safe dose level.
And when you talk about pediatric cancer, is this like up to 12, or where do you start with the lower doses?
So the current phase 1 design has 4 dose levels. For each dose level, we have 3 patients. So adding together is 12 patients. So we need to enroll 12 patients to get to the optimum dose level. And from there, we can further confirm the efficacy.
Oh, okay. That's great that you guys are doing. I'm so excited. And so you had talked about also, this being successful, and we hope it is. Do you think that this would do away with, or do you not have the answer to this, which is fine, do away with the need for radiation?
That's a very good question. So I maybe I can expand your question a little bit. So specifically for pediatric liver cancer, I think it's probably the same thing applies to other cancer types. So kind of the classic way of treating cancers, right? So you do surgery, and then at the same time, because you want to also manage the cancer well, so you probably will need to do some radiation. Sometimes you need to do the chemo to kind of keep the cancer cell within, right? So just within a controlled I would say extent. And then but then radiation and chemotherapy, for example, both of them have their own kind of side effects because they're not target specific, as Nicole just alluded. It's different than our T-cell therapy, which is a target specific therapy, and radiation and chemotherapy is not in general. So that actually will trigger a lot of toxicity, and some of the toxicity, especially for chemotherapy, has lifelong side effects.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Yeah, and especially for kids, right, who are still developing. So of course the ideal situation would be, so this is only my own kind of opinion, and also imagining in the future, right? So it's probably in the end, when we can demonstrate the efficacy of the engineered T cells. By the way, the T cells that we're using, we call it, and the term is autologous T cell therapy, meaning those T cells are coming from your own body. So you can imagine your own T cells naturally have a good profile of not targeting any of your cells within your body, right? And we only just engineer the T cell with a small part, and that part is only train the T cell to specifically target the tumor cells. So then this T cell will be okay. Let me correct myself. So the autologous T cell, or the T cells from yourself after engineering, we expect it will be still maintaining a good safety profile. And if we can demonstrate the efficacy of the T cells, and as you can imagine that we can, very possibly replace the radiation or chemotherapy that the kids cannot tolerate or has long-term side effects. So that's very possible. So that's the beauty of T-cell therapy.
That sounds amazing. Let's have it be very effective. I'm all for that. And now I know, because you know what? Dr. O'Neill was on my podcast, and she's amazing. And I know that she does a lot of pediatric liver cancer research, and she also had mentioned how rare it was. So it's so rare, which means it can often be difficult to find specialty providers and treatment options. Do you have any advice for the families listening?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to just start with, I think that patients and their caregivers, really, they're the best advocates for these children that are battling pediatric liver cancer. And so the first thing, and just talking to a lot of these patient engagement groups, these nonprofit organizations that focus on working with patients and helping them find resources, I really think that the best thing that you can do is make sure that you feel comfortable talking to your provider about what your symptoms are. Don't be afraid to get second opinions. I think that you should start looking for those communities. And for example, when it comes to pediatric liver cancer, I highly recommend seeking out these patient resources. So if you have, for example, hepatocellular carcinoma, go find the Blue Fairy, the Adrian Wilson Cancer Foundation, Liver Cancer Foundation. They will help connect you with any resource that you need help to get treatment and find the right physicians and get second opinions. If you have hepatoblastoma, a different type of pediatric liver cancer, I highly suggest you seek out the Hepatoblastoma Resource Network. They have a whole bunch of resources there. Again, it's really just, you know, I would say that definitely you need to work with your physicians, and you want to be on that team. But at the same time, you know, you're going to be the strongest advocate for your child, or for the patient that you're the caregiver for. And so it's just, you know, whatever you can to build that village, so that way you're informed, you know what treatment options are out there, you know what clinical trials are, you know what the side effects are. Ask questions. If you're not getting the answers you want from whoever you're talking to, go to somebody else. Your concerns are valid, no matter how small. If they're, you know, if you're on a therapy and your child, the person you're caring for is not eating, or they're not sleeping, or they have pain, or just, you know, those things should not be taken lightly, and don't let anyone brush that under the bus. So I just think it's really reaching out to them. And I really suggest, every time when I interact with these nonprofit groups and hear these patient stories, a lot of times finding those organizations that are focused on patients, they are the ones that will get you to those resources really quickly. That's what they're focused on. And Pei, I'm sure you might have some things to add to that as well.
Well, I can say from my perspective that everything in terms of advocating for your child is so important and so key in not only your success and feeling good about what you're doing for your child, and making the best decisions and making an informed decision by going out and asking more than one person. If you feel comfortable with the first decision, then by all means go with that. But always remember that you're not nailed, your feet aren't nailed to the ground, so to speak, and you have to go with the first choice. So we didn't, and we were very happy with where we went. Despite the outcome, we feel that it would have been that way regardless. So I always say that to parents who talk to me, to definitely do everything that you just said, despite whatever cancer they have, to advocate. And yep, so I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
And Eureka Therapeutics, and you have these clinical trials. You were telling me about measuring out and learning more about measuring out doses and how you need individuals. So that goes obviously with clinical trials. So how do people get involved?
Yeah, so there's a number of ways. I highly suggest anyone who's listening, if someone you love, yourself, or anyone that you think might that has liver cancer, and they are looking for options, or just looking to just learn more about these clinical trials, please go to our patient website. So it's www.eurekaconnectme.com. And so that's all one word. And I definitely recommend you go there. You'll see that we have all of our clinical trials listed. It talks about what T-cell therapy is. It talks about what pediatric liver cancer is, and adult liver cancer, how we design T-cell therapies to go after those types of cancers. We have a fun cartoon video, which honestly, I think it appeals to any age group, but we've tried to animate what we're doing to the T cells and how the T cells are able to fight cancer. So we've created this super T cell, we call him. He's our essentially, take your normal T cell, you give him these added superpowers to be able to fight cancer, and now you have a super T cell that can go in the body, and he can detect cancer, and he can fight off cancer, and he doesn't tire. And so that's another fun way. If you want to learn more, or if you'd like to share that, I highly recommend it. It's a great way just to kind of get a different perspective on what it is. But definitely go to our website, and we'd love to answer any questions anyone has. There's a contact us form on there. Just send us a message. We'll get back to you, within 24 hours, I would imagine, 48 at the most. And we're happy to, if you're looking for resources, we'll connect you with nonprofits. If you're looking to learn more about our therapies, we'll connect you with the right person and get you into the right hands. So we really care about our patients and all of those that are battling cancer, and anything we can do to help, we're happy to.
Excellent.
I want to add.
www.eurekaconnectme.com.
Yes.
Yeah. And I just interrupted you. I apologize, Dr. Wang.
Oh, no, don't worry. I just want to add, because one way you can do it is, of course, after you get those information from our website, you probably still cannot comprehend the whole idea. You can definitely reach out to your treating physician and ask whether they can kind of help you to understand the whole picture of the therapy. If they can't, and maybe ask them to reach out to the treating physician that we have in Dana-Farber, Dr. Allison O'Neill, or you can actually reach out to her directly to ask for more information about this clinical trial, about T-cell therapy in general.
Excellent. And I will be putting all of your links and more in the show notes on my website, www.livingwithscanxiety.org. And I will also be putting them, if you're watching this on YouTube, right below in the description. So make sure you take a look. And do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to say that, we're talking before about the, effects of what a lot of the standard treatments are for cancer. And everyone on this call right now, I know has had some experience with cancer in their life. And I wanted to say that there are people out there that think about cancer every day of their life, and they want to change the narrative and want to develop not just more effective therapies, but safer therapies. And we talked a lot about that on this call, that, Eureka, we don't want to just make the next, effective therapy. We want to make the next effective therapy that's safe, that's going to treat the cancer without, without a cost to the quality of life for the patient. And so I really think that that's something special about Eureka. It's, we're really trying to focus on both of those aspects.
That is special. That's quite something. You guys, this is amazing. I don't know if we want to call it technology, but you have to make these. So
Yeah.
kind of is a technology, and I'm hoping for the best. And I love that you're gearing it towards pediatric cancer. So is that it, or anything more to add?
It takes a lot of courage to initiate a trial in a ultra rare disease indication. Here, the pediatric liver cancer. And although we are a pretty small size organization, but we have a big dream.
Mm-hmm.
And in that dream, we would like to, apply this cutting edge technology to everybody that can be beneficial from it. And so we need a lot of support, and from the site, and hopefully from other, nonprofit organizations, the government organizations. And so I think this is really a collective effort in bringing a innovative therapy to a very small size patient population. And we're working very hard on it, and we're committed to deliver our promise.
Yeah, that's great. And I always say it's always small until you're the one that has it, or you're the one that's in it.
Yeah.
So it's rare, but you don't feel like it's rare when you're the one with it, or you're the family with a child that has it. So thank you so much for joining me. And I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. And thank you again for all your hard work that you do.
Well, thank you, Rosario. Thank you for everything you do too. It's great that there's a platform like this, and that people can come talk about, pediatric cancer and, what their lives are like. So thank you for what you do as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rosario, for the time.
Thanks.